Alrighty folks, welcome back. Mark here, owner, operator, co-founder, and Triple Hound Tooth Media, also known as 3HT, coming at you with a new project today. But first, let me continue to introduce myself. You might remember me from previous videos that I was in, such as Cub Cadet Snowblower Restoration, episodes 1 through 5. I also worked on a little something called Beginner's Guide to Inflatable Lawn Decor. I did a large segment on how to rehabilitate squirrels and reacclimate them into urban environments. I was on America's Most Wanted. I used to sell steak knives door to door, Cutco. Remember those? Might have seen me there. Oh, I've got a future release, an upcoming series on time travel that's going to come out in the future. Anyways, welcome back. And like I said, now we're going to start a new project starting today down here. We're down in the basement dungeon area. And the reason we're down here is this project is going to require a little bit of layout, a lot of mock-up, and definitely a ton of trial and error. But what we're making, guys and folks and boys and girls, what we're making down here and what we're going to start working on is we are making a DIY, which stands for Do It Yourself, electric snow vehicle. Okay? Now, you'll see here I got a, I don't know if you can see it down there or not, so let me try to lift it up without breaking my ankle with it. What I got there is a red electric razor scooter, and then over here, I don't know if you can see it on this cam, but maybe on that one. Down here I've got a black electric, it's a Razor MX350 dirt bike. And now I originally got these for the dogs to ride, and you know, they cruised around on them for a little bit. Cosmo was ripping wheelies on this one, and they just stopped messing with them right away. You know, it was like they played with them for a day and there they sat. So so what I thought was we could take the combination of this dirt bike and this scooter, okay, as just like parts sources. All right. And now before you say, well, she'd give those to a kid that didn't need or something, I asked everybody I know if they wanted these things for their kids or whatever, and you know, but no one wanted them. So so it's safe to blast them for parts, and that's what I'm going to do with them. We're going to turn them into a snow vehicle. Now we got those things just for like general parts. We got like throttle controls and steering linkages and motors and batteries and stuff. And then I also got some other stuff that I gathered up from around my little storage spaces I got everywhere. And one of those, let me looking at my notes here. But what I have here are a set of tracks. Now these guys, if you look at them somewhere, there it says it right there, made in Canada. Okay, so these are Canadian. And you know, Canadians, they get a lot of snow. If anybody knows snow things, it's Canada. These are off of a snow blower. Okay, they're like, it's off of like a one that is self-propelled or something. I don't know. I picked these up like probably 15 years ago for a robot I was working on that never came to fruition. But we're going to use them for this DIY snow vehicle to propel my fat keister across the frozen tundra. So we got those. I want to incorporate the snow tracks. Are you following me here? Snow tracks, unwanted electric children's vehicles here, and then over here in this corner we got snowboards. There's two of them there. This one's an Illusion 150, and this one is probably like 20 some years old, guys. But we can use both of those as like skis to propel us across the frozen earth. And then I lied to you. You know, I said we just have this one and that one there, and we got, you know, two things going. But look over here, bam! Another Razor MX350 that I bought for the poodle, and she couldn't reach the pedals or the ground, and you know, she took no interest in it. So we've actually got two Razor MX350s, okay? One, two. We got that red scooter for parts. DIY electric snow vehicle. What the heck even is that? But basically what I'm thinking is something that like I can sit in like bobsled configuration. And I could be wrong, but I think you just like kind of sit with your legs out in front of you in a bobsled, okay? So I thought we could pretty much use one of these as the base of that. Like I'll just sit my fat butt on one of these fat ends here, and my legs can be out in front of me. And then somehow I was thinking I could steer with my feet, crack the throttle with my right hand, and have like a pull brake on the left. I think that's the configuration that I want there. I would like to be in some kind of like capsule or pod, but I think I more than likely am just gonna have to get like a foil spacesuit or something to stay warm. I'm not sure how that's gonna work yet. I was thinking if I could be in some kind of like safety capsule or something, that might be okay there. So I'm trying to keep this super ultra low budget. So far I have got one purchase in on this project, and it's this, okay? The one purchase that's actually come to the house. I've bought two things. One thing has arrived. This was $14.99. There's actually two items in here, and this is what these are. Now what these are battery adapters for Milwaukee M18 batteries, and they're marketed to adapt to a Power Wheels, okay? And there's two of them in there. I got one, I got two, you know what I mean? Got a couple of those, and so what that's going to do is that's going to allow us to power our off-road snow electric vehicle with some M18 red lithium fuel power instead of buying expensive batteries for this project. So right off the bat, I think that was a good call. That at least gives us some way to power this thing experimentally, if nothing else. And I've got M18 batteries coming out of my... This one's pretty heavy. Oh, because it's still mostly a second. Alright. So, those of you that got, you know, husky children. Let's say you got a husky child around 100 pounds and he's got one of these bikes. If you would estimate at top speed how fast can his 100-pound butt go on that thing? Because you know, I figure I'm about 200 pounds, which makes me about the size of two husky children. You might note that I got a chair in place now, which is nice. We just kind of hang out on that. I do have a top speed requirement for this project. If we don't hit 30 miles an hour, we must add more power. Okay, this thing has to hit 30 miles an hour. I'm not talking like going downhill with a good breeze behind you. I'm talking it needs to be able to get up and go and hit 30 miles an hour. I think that's a realistic goal, but we'll see. And now, you know, you might think, oh, boo-hoo, wow, 30 mile an hour. I don't know. What I do know is we're making an electric snow vehicle, okay? And now I got a crude illustration here of roughly how it's going to go. Basically, this thing is going to be a system of 3 skis, if you will. We're actually using snowboards. So we'll call them, basically it's going to be 2 snowboards, but one's going to be cut in half, okay? Are you following me? So the main body of this machine is going to be a snowboard, okay? And then it's going to have 2 front skis that I'm going to make out of a snowboard cut in half. And then this is going to be like the steering mechanism, okay? This is how we're going to steer across the frozen tundra. And I got to get this thing going. I mean, there's enough snow on the ground out there right now to test this out. Alright, so what we have here is a Razor Dirt Rocket MX350. And so you can still buy this thing off the floor of Walmart. As I record this, you could go waltzing in there and pick one of these puppies up today. And I didn't get the price in the picture, but if I remember correctly, it was either $249 or $299, something in that range. $200 to $300 range. You could get you one of those. Now I've already dissected 2 of them, and that's where these motors and all these things came from. Now, if I was smart, I probably only would have taken one of these apart electrically first, and that would give me a better idea
of what we can do with this stuff, because I can say, oh, this is the one for the throttle, and this is this, and this is that. But I would be willing to bet that this stuff's fairly well idiot proofed, and it probably all only plugs in one way. Electric controller version V1. This one says version V1. They're different batch numbers. They look pretty similar. And the layout of those wires looks pretty similar. This one appears to have an extra black wire here for some reason. So you can see we basically just got a thing to plug an M18 battery into. We got a positive and a negative coming out, and they give you a snazzy fuse holder so you don't burn anything down. And it is rocking a 30 amp fuse. So we know we can at maximum crank 30 amps through this thing. And that's good because this says that the maximum current is 30 amps. So we have the perfect size fuse for this, I would say. And this box says it was made in 6/11/2018. This box says 12/12/2019. So what I was thinking would be fun to do is just try to mock this thing up electrically and see if I can get 2 of these motors to turn and 2 of these control modules to respond off of the signal on one throttle assembly. So that does that. What does this do? Goes. Oh, all right. So, all right. This could be our throttle assembly, and yep, it's coming together already, folks. Thought all this stuff was plug and play. What does that do? That looks good. Blue and yellow are going to go to our motors. I don't know what I'm doing with my life, folks. There's no direction to it. Basically, we want to harvest these plugs off of these batteries. Let's see what kind of fuse they were running. It says never modify the electrical system. Alteration can cause a fire. Use of the wrong type of battery or charger could cause an explosion. Duly noted. Yes, they were using a 30 amp fuse in their factory system too, so we got some spare fusilators, and we can use the 30s that came with these Milwaukee things. So I think even though we just read that warning about modifying batteries and all that, I think we're going to be just fine with that. What we will do here is strip these wires down. And so my whole point about pulling my phone out and showing you guys that that bike at Walmart was it said the top speed on there. If I remember correctly, it said either 14 or 17 miles an hour. Now it was printed on that box, so if you go back to that part of the video, I don't know if you can actually see what's on my phone screen there if I got you pulled in close enough. But anyway, my goal in the previous recorded segments, which you might recognize me from, my goal was, like I said, if we don't hit 30 miles an hour, we got to add more power. And so if one of these bikes would go 14, let's just call it 14 miles an hour, and that's with a heavy bike with, I assume that's with an occupant on it, you know, and I assume that occupant is a, let's say 8 to 10 year old kid, I guess would be a good candidate to ride this bike. So what does your average 8 to 10 year old American kid weigh? 100 pounds ish. So let's say that I don't know, are they 100 pounds? I have no idea. I've never had a kid in my life. But let's say they're 100 pounds, okay? And let's say that bike will go 14 mile an hour with a 100-pound kid on it. Well, that's one bike. And so we've got 2 drivetrains from those bikes, and I am an approximately 185-pound kid. So what that tells me is that we should at least be able to hit 28 miles an hour. And if we take away friction, which is what you do when you're traveling across the frozen surface, I think we might actually be able to hit 30 miles an hour on this thing. Plus we're doing like a battery upgrade. Who knows? I might be able to hit like 50 miles an hour on this puppy, folks. Get her really screaming. And now they give you these little Wagyu kind of connector. I don't know what kind of connectors those are. I don't necessarily want to use those because this is going to be a snow vehicle. We need everything to be air and water tight. And so basically all we got to do now here is positive to negative, and that will allow us to bring our M18 Milwaukee batteries into the ecosystem of the snow vehicle. Where I left off yesterday, the battery died while I was recording, which happens to me often. So I've got one throttle control here, okay, and you twist to rip. It's a twist it to rip it kind of situation. So that's what we got there. And then I've got another cable off of this same setup with the same plug on the end of it. So we need that plug. What I'm going to try to do today while I have you guys with me is I'm going to try to wire these 2 plugs together and just jumper them 1 to 1. But I remember now why I held off on that last night. It's because we have 2 browns and we've got 2 oranges. And so I don't know which is which. I don't know that it matters. You can hear the old squirrel cage blower in my mind twirling while I'm thinking about if it matters. I don't think it does. I think all we're doing here, I think this is kind of like a potentiometer. So I don't think it matters as long as we stay brown to brown and orange to orange. So I think the easiest way to go about this, get these SOBs out of the way. Anyways, I think if I unpin this connector here carefully, I can probably just, I don't know. So yeah, I think I got a plan. I'm gonna have to go get some wire snippers and a soldering iron. And I think if I can carefully unpin this, I can just solder, I can strip these wires and just solder them on to the back of the little crimp fitting here. And then we'll push the pins back in and we'll have all 4 wires jumpered together off of this plug. Down inside of these connectors, you'll see they have a little, like a raised tang, if you will. And so if you push that little tang down, carefully while pulling on the wire, oftentimes you can take these apart. Alright, so we got one. Pop that out of there. But if you look at this closely, that little thing there is what clips it in and keeps it in place. So I'm trying to do with this inside the connector is push that down and then gently pull on the wire to get it out. Which is easier said than done. Maybe we could use the table to assist us in some way. Can you assist me, table? There, so we got that one. That's the ticket. I guess at this juncture we can go ahead and get the soldering iron plugged in. I don't really like soldering. I can do it, kind of, you know. Like I can make it work if I have to. And so previous to this Yahoo or whatever the hell it is, I never really had any good quality soldering irons. I just have like the absolute cheapest one you could get from Harbor Freight or Menards, or cheapest one they make, guarantee it, you know, kind of thing. Science. No, I think we'll be okay. Okay. Essentially, what I'm going to do is wrap these wires around the ends of these connector terminal jobs, and then we just have to keep the amount of solder we apply to them minimal enough to where they'll still slide into their receptacles. Oh, that one popped out. Maybe I should do them two at a time. Alright, so let's get a little solder out. And I just got a chisel tip on this guy now because I like working hot and fast. Hot and heavy. Heavy hot dog. What? What's this guy talking about? Alright, that should be good. Then we'll do the next one. Progress. Let's give this a flip so it's easier to put together. And we just need to do our downtown Julie Browns. Now we should be clear to pop these guys back in place, and if I'm lucky, so let's look at our plug here. The orange ones are on top, left and right if the plug is up. So they're a little difficult to put back in because now there's two wires attached to them, but I'm getting it. I have to get those in a little further yet so they click. So far this is going good. We just got one more to get in there. And it's going to go in just like this. So I got all those pushed into place, and it appears that each one now has two wires on it. So now, if we look at the inside of that plug, it looks factory. If we look at the outside of the plug, it looks kind of factory. Their wires are shorter than mine. Are those their wires? No, my wires are shorter than theirs. This is the factory setup with those leads coming off. Actually, mine are shorter because we trimmed them. Alright, so now if we're lucky, I can plug these controllers in. Now if I'm lucky, they both are gonna run off of this plug. And all I'm gonna have to do is plug this plug into this plug, such as so. Okay, so we're plugged in there. And this one's gonna go to the same port, but on the other control box, which is over here. I mean, there's only one way this can go. Don't tell me that this plug came from the other bike and now this one doesn't fit and snap! There it goes. Okay. It's just a real tight fit on that plug. Alright, so now everything is looped together, but in order to make this work, we got to figure out what was going on and what was going where. I'm pretty sure this is the power switch. This control box has an extra wire versus the other. And I suppose it's possible this one also is the one with the broken tab. So now that I think of it, I mean, I may have yanked that thing out of there like a crazed ape. I mean, it almost looks like there's two wires missing out of it. Hopefully that one's not faulty. And so what I'm doing now is just hooking one of the factory switches up to this control box, and then because I broke the other switch for the other control box, removing it, I had to fish around in the garage and find something out there. And I figured out what this black wire is for. The black wire is just the ground because this is an illuminated switch, so that wasn't too hard to figure out. I got to pull the broken terminals out of here. Hopefully I can get those out now. The reason I broke that switch was these terminals were absolutely brutal to try to get unplugged. Yeah, but there's just a tab to push down. So yeah, I figured that out. There's just a tab on these that you got to push down. I've never seen connectors like that. These are actually really slick. A little tab inside there you push. Then you can darn near do it by hand. This one's got the rubber booty on it still, so it's being a little more difficulty. Maybe we can smash the tab down with this. Yeah, that pulls right out of there. Okay, so now we've got power switches. We've got potentially control circuit. The only thing unaccounted for now are these two cables, okay? Or these two connectors. I don't know if you guys can see over here quite so well or not, but we got one here and one here, same connector. And what they go to are the brakes. I previously said there wouldn't be brakes, but I mean there could be brakes. You know, I mean, I guess if we're actually hitting 30 mile an hour on this freaking thing, brakes might not be a bad idea. So did I lie to us? Where's... Oh, there's two unaccounted for connectors on each one. So we got this one. And then we got this one. Okay, so then the only leftover connector, I believe, would be voltage in to charge the batteries. So I think it should be safe to try this. Let's kind of organize a little bit. Kind of get our wires out from where they're not going to get chewed on, hopefully. Alright, so let's do power switch 1. I got light. I just heard a click. But anyways, let's try to crack this throttle and see what this does. So I hear something clicking in here when I crack this. Oh wait, that motor just started going. There might be a low voltage protector in this thing where it won't run the motor on a low battery. So let's go ahead and switch this one back off. We'll have to fight these batteries out of these holders. So this is what I'm going to end up running this thing off of, I think. Either a set of these HD12s, dual, or a set of the those new Super 8 ones they got. I forget what they're calling those, but they say they put an 8 amp hour one out. I've already got one of them. I can get another. That they say is actually more powerful than this 12 here, and it's smaller and lighter. So if that's the case, we're going to want the best batteries that we can get to run this thing. So we'll put this guy on there, and then we know that we don't have to have any concern about low voltage, right? So let's shield our eyes with our hat. Fire this up. Heard a nice good click that time. No click from that one now. So let's see how she goes off the HD12. I don't know. What do you guys think? If I had two of those going, do you think we could hit 30 mile an hour? That looked like it was clipping pretty quick. Alright, then let's plug in the throttle off of this scooter here, which is probably going to be much easier said than done. Alright, which one of these is the throttle cable? But hey, you know, I don't make the rules. Alright, so basically what we're going to do now is plug in a totally separate throttle control for left and right, because what I need to see is if so far we haven't seen this one spin at all, and it's starting to concern me a little bit. So let's go ahead and switch on power to both sides. Can't hear if they're clicking or not with the furnace running. But now if I twist this, that side should go. Nothing happening. Do I got both motors plugged in? Yes, I do. Are they plugged in good? Yes, they are. And so far we're not getting nothing there. And then, so I think that there isn't necessarily anything wrong with our control setup, okay? So we weren't getting anything happening, even with it in the factory configuration or whatever. Motor in, something, something, something. Okay, so we're getting a good click. Power switch over here. No click. So we got a good motor, because now this motor is working off of the control box closest to me. The only thing different between these two is that, and now I know that brake doesn't have to be hooked up because I unplugged it from here. So let's unplug it from there, because that doesn't seem to matter. The only thing different between these two circuits from side to side is that the one closest to the camera, I don't have a ground hooked up to make the switch illuminated. Could that have a bearing on this thing actually working? I don't know. But what I do know is it's not working. So let's try something else. Where's the other end of this? There. Shut this off. Turn that back on. No, it is. Wait a minute. Let's try something else real quick before we get too carried away. I'm beginning to wonder, maybe these little, I think these are just like 1.5 amp batteries that I have on the one side. Maybe they're just simply not strong enough to consistently start that motor. So let's try to test it off the bigger battery. They're both going, guys. They're both going. Wait, that one stopped. So which one is hooked to this? Yeah, the one that's hooked to the small battery stopped. And so I believe the reason it stopped is like a low current or under voltage situation. Yeah, this is actually perfectly fine. I just need to have, you know, Big Daddy batteries on both sides. But yeah, there you go. There, I don't know if you can see from your vantage point, but they are both spinning when the throttle's cracked. But yeah, there's a lot of torque there. And this one, it's cranking along. I don't feel anything getting hot. Wires from the batteries aren't even warm. Yeah, so this will be a nice setup. This is the one that's on the 12 amp hour battery. It's going pretty quick. This one's hooked to the 1.5 amp or whatever it is. Welcome back. Where we left off last, the battery died, as usual. So what we're picking up now is me telling you what I did after the battery died, as usual. So basically where we left off, we've determined that these two motors work and the circuitry works, and how I wired the controller to both of them instead of just one works. And so basically all I did after the battery died was I added some shrink wrap to the connector where I doubled up those wires or whatever. So so now that's a nice solid connection there. We shouldn't have to worry about it coming apart when we're going over bumps and stuff like that on this thing. Because I was thinking about it, and you know, because the ground is going to be frozen, more than likely, it's probably going to be pretty bumpy. Oh, I did do something else, I forgot. So this was the battery and control box bin out of that red electric scooter, and so I kind of just cleaned I took the control box out of it and some of the wiring out, and cleaned it up a little bit. And I'm going to use this to house the control boxes for the vehicle that I'm making. And then you can see it's got the same power switch built into it, and then we'll use that one, and then we'll just put this one in probably right next to it or something. Then we'll have our control boxes in there, power switches on the side. I won't have room for the batteries I want to run in here, but it'll kind of keep our some of our electrical stuff out of the elements and whatnot. I'm not going to use this circuit breaker for anything, but I don't want a hole there, so we'll just leave the little component there in the hole. But this thing's pretty cool. It's got a little pull out there, so you can lock in a nice big thick cable, so we can run our cables through there. So what we're going to work on today is the electrical system is done. There's really nothing else we need to do to it. I was thinking about maybe adding like a driving light to this vehicle, but if I do that, I'm going to run it off of its own independent battery, like maybe a couple 18650s or something that we can recharge as needed. We got to make a frame for this thing, and we got to work on the mechanicals of it. It's time to saw some children's toys up with power saws and jigsaws and grinders, and put my evil plan into process. Start by cutting up this red scooter. So I know I'm going to use the foot part of the scooter here. I want to use as my backrest. And as I was looking at it, because sometimes you just got to look at it, I was thinking the steering part, the steering knuckle, might be of use to us as well. So since I have to cut those two things apart anyway, I just kind of laid out how I want them cut. And now we're going to cut them with my trusty old M18 Sawzall. Like butter on a hot winter's day. So I'm down in my basement cutting up children's scooters. What are you doing on a Saturday afternoon? See, I'm going to strip the rest of the monkey business off of this. And then this is going to be my backrest for the snow vehicle. And it's going to have, you'll see. You'll see. This part we actually have a use for. And it'll be significantly lighter once we strip that motor and wheel and all that. Now what that left us in the front is a very small portion of a children's scooter. But you'll see we got this nice shaped piece here that's been welded up real spiffy for us, and it's mostly flat on bottom. That would provide some type of mounting surfacification. And so what I think I might be able to do is salvage this neck piece, if you will, for my front steering apparatus. And obviously we're not going to be able to steer a snow vehicle with a scooter wheel, so the steering that's currently here is going to have to go. But I think this part here might be of use. 2009. Keep coming up for 20,000 feet in the sea. Come and wrangle up in the Holiday Inn. The first thing I noticed is snowboards are much harder to cut than I had anticipated. Let's try it again. Yeah! There we go. Got a tall bit. The edges of that snowboard are extremely difficult. It's like the edges are reinforced with steel or something in it. It was hard to start the cut and hard to finish it. But otherwise it cut it pretty clean. I was worried it was going to be all fraggled and frayed fiberglass, but it looks good. I'll bring it over here. So we got two PLs, PL1, PL2. These are going to be our front steering skis. And they're roughly identical, and that's good. So we need some type of uniformity in this project and in our lives in general. What we could really use is some space and time. Time and space. Let's talk about time and space. What I got mocked up on the old floor here. So we got the two snowboard halves as like outward ski steering skis. And we got the tracks in the back for drive. Alright people, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Down here working on the DIY electric snow vehicle volume 1. What we have here is a hinge contraption from a convertible. But what we need is a couple of control arms for the front suspension of this DIY snow vehicle, you know, so we can steer and whatnot. So I've got two of these. I've got the left and the right. Have absolutely no use for them. So I harvested those two arm things I was talking about from those convertible brackets, and so what we ended up with was two mirror image steel arms. They got like a curvature to them. That's okay, we can work with that. They got some bends in them, we can work with that too. So I just attached them to the front pig knuckle, I guess we'll call that, with a bolt for now, just to kind of hold them on there. That's not how they're going to attach. I got pizza rolls, man.